Hi everyone. So in Season 28 there's a new feature introduced that is very much like the sanctified items in Season 27. If you don't know what I mean, it's this new cube recipe here, the Curiosity of Lorath Nar, and it allows you to make one item of your choice into a primal. And you can see this here, this is this reddish background as opposed to the red border, so you can differentiate it from regular primals. So this is how they usually look, and here this is the new primal ancient from the primordial ashes feature. So there's one difference here, and this is you can only have one of them equipped, and you also cannot put them on followers. In fact, you cannot even do this with follower items or crafted items for that matter. It just gives you the wrong error here. But if you have played Season 27, this is effectively exactly like the Sanctifieds, just without the extra powers. So this is a really cool feature in my opinion. This was something I was actually trying to lobby for, and we actually got it, so that's really cool. So it makes it just much more smooth to gear up your character. So if you have played Season 27, you'll probably notice that having this one guaranteed really GG roll in your build was really helpful to just like smooth out the gearing process, you know, not really feel so subject to the RNG of the drops. And you could kind of like, decide where to put it. In most cases, this would end up being a weapon or on the int classes and offhand, because those are really hard to roll. And we got these sanctified crucibles like left and right in the season, so you could just like roll them over and over until they had like the perfect stats. So they introduced this new material here. It's called Primordial Ashes, which right now looks exactly like Forgotten Souls, but I imagine it's going to get its own icon in the final patch. And whenever you salvage a primal, you get 55 of these primordial ashes, and you need 100 of them to make one of these primals. So this is an extremely low cost, 2-to-1, but it gets even better than that, because you only need 2-to-1 the first time you do this. And if you ever roll a primal that doesn't have the right stats, you just salvage it again for 55, so you get like more than half of the cost back. So in the end, it's a 1-to-1 trade. You find one useless primal and you can make any item you want into a primal of your choice. So depending on which item you choose, it might be more or less difficult to actually roll the right stats. So for example, back in Season 27, especially the high-end blasters that just found primal weapons eventually or crafted them from bounty mats, they were very often going with stuff like stone gauntlets, which could use like hundreds of rerolls. So this is like one of those cases where you really have to invest. But for example, just like throwing it on a weapon, most of the time you just care about having a high affix. If it has an affix, so this weapon is a bad example, but let's say the Barber. The Barber has an affix here that rolls like 350 to 500%. You want to get that high, you want to have a high damage range, and most of the time a weapon is already solid just because of those two factors. And then maybe you want to like optimize the stats a little bit with like percent damage or cooldown or area or something like that, which is also not unlikely to get with a few rolls of this. Then comes the offense. So this is like another thing when you are playing a bit more usually. You want to probably go for these kind of items which are harder to roll than, for example, the weapons, even if they are primal, because they have a lot of different stats. You have like all these skill, damage stats, for example. You want to have maybe certain stuff like cooldown or area. And then there's like a lot of useless stuff as well on these offense, like, vitality, life percent, all res, the stuff you don't really want to see here. And then there's obviously other items that are also extremely hard to roll. For example, those class-specific rings. Ring of Emptiness is one of these examples. Even better example is probably a Halo of Karini that has this really high damage reduction roll, or Band of Might, for example. And you need to have a really good affix, basically perfect, so that you don't lose out on a ton of toughness. So those are also these prime candidates here to roll with this new feature. But which item you choose in the end always depends on your RNG, your drop luck, which build you're playing exactly. So you have to decide it for yourself. I just try to give like a few general guidelines of which items to choose. I think it's a really nice addition. This is, by the way, a non-seasonal feature, so this is not only Season 28 specific. I do hope that we're also going to see some of the sanctified powers back in future seasons. Some of them really spice up the game, gave really cool new build options. I guess everyone who played Wizard is going to be sad about the missing missile build at this point. And for example, the Hoda Shockwave was really cool. So there's a few examples like that I would really like to see come back as like new legendary powers at some point. So that would be amazing. And that's it for this video. Let me know what you think about it. How do you like the cost? And hope you enjoyed this video. See you guys next time.